Geek Time.
Coming countdown control. The liquid hydrogen vent valve has been closed and flight pressurization is underway.
To Geek Time.
Mark and counting.
If you know how to give the Vulcan hand sign, if you've never kissed a girl or tasted wine, if you write all your papers in Linux, then you know it's Geek Time. If you still live with your parents and you're 38 years old, you got a pocket protector and you blog about having a cold. It's Geek Time. Can't wait to get an iPad. It's Geek Time. You're like Ogle and Superbad. It's Geek Time. You got a coffee mug warmer and an Iron Man mask. It's Geek Time. You dress up and go to Comic-Con. It's Geek Time. You know all the lines from Wrath of Khan. It's Geek Time. You like asteroids and shiny droids and iPhones. It's Geek Time. Time to get a life. It's Geek Time. You will never get a wife. It's Geek Time.
The next generation.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Welcome to Geek Time, the next generation. Hosted by Chris Bors.
Don't cross the stream.
Make it so.
And Scott Erkman.
Never tell me the odds.
Bringing you all things geek-worthy from the world of pop culture.
Get to the chopper!
All right, welcome to another episode of Geek Time coming at you. Season 1, Episode 11. We're moving right along, and we have another jam-packed show for you today. We have all kinds of guests for you. We're pulling stuff out of the archive, which will be this time Robert Orci. We did an interview with him way back when, so we're bringing that out of the vault because he just passed away. I was kind of broken up about that.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that until you actually sent it to me. That really touched me. That was a big one.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
Great. Yeah, and it's funny because it didn't get a lot of press. Like I was kind of bummed. I'm like, man, this guy had such an impact in the 2010s. Like his death did not get a lot of attention.
That's probably why I didn't catch on to it. Yeah. So when you sent it to me, it really hit.
Yeah, and that's why I want to kind of do a little mini tribute to him with this episode. And we'll also be hearing from Hollywood makeup artist Daniel Phillips, who had a hand in the Lord of the Rings, as well as Neil Ross, which is the voice from G.I. Joe's Shipwreck. And I know, Scotty, you were very excited about that.
Oh, yeah. I was always a Cobra guy, but, my brother had G.I. Joe, I had Cobra, so he had those guys. But, yeah, big time G.I. Joe guy.
G.I. Joe!
Oh, so now we're going to sing the theme song.
And I should probably mention, too, that the show sponsor for this episode is the Noble Collection. They have a hand in the Minecraft movie merchandise. So if you want finely crafted treasures, they have real-world accuracy on anything involving torches, potions, swords, loot crates, and more. Visit thenoblecollection.com. So thank you to the show sponsor, the Noble Collection. But, yeah, so how you doing, Scotty?
I'm great. Weather's been good. I'm feeling good. It's, starting to be springtime. Everybody's happy and excited, so it's a good time.
Yeah, we have Scotty back. My schedule got a little crazy this week, so Tim couldn't make it. But, yeah, we're trudging right along.
When he can't come in, I got your back. We'll get a show for everybody out there.
There you go. So, yeah, the first thing that we usually do on the show is our Freaking Out, Geeking Out segment. And one thing I'm really freaking out on, I don't know, Scotty, do you watch the show Dexter at all?
I watched the first one. I haven't watched the new one that came out, so I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah,
not a reboot, but I guess sequel type.
Yeah, so the new one, I've got kind of a spoiler. And you haven't seen it, so is it okay if I throw that out there?
Go ahead and throw it out there. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, like I said, this one is going to be kind of a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
So if you're not caught up on the show, do not listen to the next minute or so, because one of the things I'm freaking out on, I really like the prequel that they did. Their characters are very true to the original characters. But I don't know who wrote the script for these episodes, but they really messed up a critical, pivotal point that just made the ending really fall apart, because in episode like 2 episodes before the very last episode, Dexter runs across the killer through some blood splatter analysis, saying that, oh, the person that kidnapped this boy is related because the blood type is the same. So when you get to the very last episode, you see the guy going on this rampage, the guy that took the boy, mind you. He went to his wife and he was all mad at her, saying that I took our son because he wasn't my son and because you cheated on me. And I'm like, wait a minute, that makes no sense now, because your blood
was the same blood type, you said. So that's
Dexter said the blood was the same blood type, but now with that one line, you derailed the entire series. Like, now nothing makes sense.
That's not even a small continuity error. That's not like, somebody with a Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones. That's a huge storyline problem right there. It's like, did they not realize? There's so much stuff where they have too many people writing these shows, and somebody writes this episode, somebody writes that. So it's like they don't even look at the past episode or something. And I don't know what's going on with all these stories nowadays.
Yeah, talk about a major faux pas. Like, that one line derailed the entire ending. And it was, well, my wife actually picked it up, and when she said that, I was like, wait a minute, yeah, you're right. Wow, that just invalidates everything. Like, huh? Yes, I don't know how that got past the censors or whatever you call them, the continuity manager
people,
or whatever. But I don't know how that happens. But that one line, I don't know how they missed that. But that aside, I mean, the series was great, but that one thing, I was like, what? So, all right, Sky, do you have a geeking out, freaking out for us?
I do, yeah. There's a thing coming out. It's High Volume Batman, where they've done this before, but they're going to take some Batman stories, some of the classic stories. They're going to start with Batman Year One. They're just going to be audio only, in an audio format, but they're going to be high production. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be pretty good.
Now, are these new stories? Or are they pulling them out of the archive? Or
they're going to pull out of the archives. They're starting with Year One. They're going to do Hush. They might do some new ones too, but they're getting like really, big time voice actors. They're going to have all the sound. So it's going to be almost like an old school, like a radio theater or radio play that they want to do.
Right.
They've done these in the past, but it's called DC High Volume Batman. And it's going to start April 22nd. So I'll have to find out what format that's coming to, and we'll have to give that a listen.
Oh, that is cool. And I know Jim Lee, of course, was the artist for Hush, and he was a frequent guest of the old Geek Time. So I'm hoping we can get him back in here, because I don't know if you're geeking out over the Hush 2 news that they're bringing Hush 2 back.
Yeah, absolutely,
I would love for him to come on and talk about that, because wow, what a great idea to bring that back.
Yeah. You get that guy on the show, and I got to get on that one. I'll just sit here quietly and let you do steer the ship. But I got to sit there and at least be like, man, I was in the same Zoom or something. in there with Jim Lee, man.
That'll be your geeking out for the year.
Yeah, exactly. I'll put that on my tombstone.
Your tombstone. All right, so moving on. I guess we'll start getting into the geek news and notes here. All right, so I guess the major news is the whole Snow White debacle that has been going on, and rightly so. I mean, the casting of that is just out of left field, and I guess the movie. I looked at the box office, and it only made $42 million over the weekend. And to put this in perspective, the Captain America movie on their first weekend made almost $100 million. So you can see where this one kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah, like I don't know what the budget was, but the way they're going, the budget was probably 180, 200.
It was over 200 million.
Yeah,
I think it was
not going to end well.
50 around there. But it still did a lot, because if you look at the box office numbers, Snow White did 42 million, and then the next one under that is Black Bag, which did 4 million. I have no idea what Black Bag is. But Captain America, number 3, came in number 3 with 3 million. So Captain America is still on the board.
That one might at least break even, which I know is probably a failure for Hollywood, but at least it might break even. I don't know what the current numbers are with that one.
Yeah, but it's so crazy, because I know, like, one of the big things over the weekend was going into the theaters where they were showing the Snow White movie and just filming it, because it was always empty. So that was the big thing. Oh, look at
Nobody's going to be
theater.
screaming, hey, turn that light off.
So I know that the movie would probably make some money, but 42 million, I mean, that is kind of a big number. And I know sometimes these companies will kind of pad the numbers by renting out the theaters and things like that just to kind of bump up the numbers the first weekend. I know that practice happens. So I guess the real litmus test is going to be what happens next week, because that happened with Captain America. I think the first week, like I said, it made 100 million, and then it was just a sharp drop.
It was
the
almost
following
50%, 40-some%. It was a huge drop.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I'm sure we're going to see the same thing. I'm sure they padded those numbers this weekend just to try to drive the number up, just to be like, okay, well, look, it wasn't a total failure, but after that first week, I mean...
Right, and it's going to be interesting, like what it does in overseas, like for the worldwide market too, because...
Oh, yeah, well, I read that in the Chinese theaters, like, the movie didn't even break $1 million.
Oh, wow, that's bad.
Yeah, one of the things I always saw was people comparing this to Little Mermaid because, they didn't stick to the legacy type of character.
Even the story, was changed a bit.
With the different ethnicity. And they're like, well, Little Mermaid still made money, but I always tell them, I'm like, well, look, if you had a white chick in there, that movie would have did like 4 times what that Little Mermaid did, because I heard so many mothers say, I'm not going to go see this movie just because it's not true to the original.
And the same with this one. I'm curious, but not enough to go to the theater to spend money.
And of course, when you hear people that work at Disney say, hey, I'm rooting for the apple to win, you gotta clunk around your hands. There's
some are just saying the actress is so toxic she poisoned the apple. It wasn't even.
Oof.
0.0.
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing that breaks me up too was Looney Tunes. The day, what is that? The Earth blew up.
Yeah, this one really hurts.
I know. I guess it made $2 million over the weekend, which brings the grand total to a 6.5 million total. And I'm surprised that Looney Tunes hasn't gotten a better box office hit out of that one.
Yeah, I loved Looney Tunes growing up, Bugs Bunny and that. And yeah, times have changed, but this stuff is really making me sad. It's really hurting.
Yeah, it looked like a good one. And I guess, too, with that Coyote versus Acme, the production company that released the day that the Earth blew up, I guess they also reached out and they're spending $50 million to bring that movie out of whatever status it was in, like the bankruptcy status or whatever. It's called Catch-Up Entertainment. And I guess they also want to release it. But I will say, I think that Coyote versus Acme does have a better chance at the box office because, look, there's so much controversy around this movie. Even I want to go see it to see what was going on about this.
It's kind of like the Looney Tunes Snyder version of Justice League. People want it and they wouldn't bring it out. So now once it comes out, I'm going to go see it because it gets Looney Tunes. But it's got that stigma to it.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like, if this thing goes to the box office, I can't wait to see the numbers that pile in for this thing. So I'm hoping for the best for that one.
Oh, I'm going to guess, somewhere at least 42 million, maybe better. Those wide numbers.
Let's hope. All right, so one of the things I do want to point out, too, I saw in the news that Mattel, now remember, I think it was last episode or the episode before, I said, I think the writing's on the wall that Mattel is in trouble. And a few days ago, they announced that they are laying off 120 workers, which that number includes a lot of the higher ups as well. So there you go. I called it. They are in trouble. I don't know what's going on over there. But
you were talking about that. We were walking around Toy Fair. We got to the booth, and like you said, we didn't get a bag from them, and it was kind of like a lackluster pushing us through. And you had that vibe. You've been there enough that you can kind of read what's going on, and you said it as we were walking around the booth quietly. Of course, you didn't like blurt it out to everybody. You had that feeling.
On that note, too, we also talked about what if they started making figures of people from sitcoms like Cheers and Seinfeld and things like that. But I saw in the news today that they are actually making Three's Company figures. Like, where the hell did this come from? Were they bugging our conversation or what? Because I know that that sitcom came up in our conversation.
That was
we were like,
definitely
Three's
one
Company,
of them. Because we talked about the
Ropers.
Regal Beagle place. Yeah, I'm like, so it's like, I'm starting to think you're getting, when you're walking away from me at a toy fair, you're getting some inside information you're not sharing, and then you're like, oh, look at the prophet Chris coming up with all this stuff, man.
But yeah, I guess they're making 3 figures of the 3 main characters, of course. Oh shoot, their names elude me
Jack,
right now.
Chrissy,
Chrissy.
Yeah, Jack, Chrissy, and
Janice or Janet.
Janet, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're only getting those 3. I would love to see a play set to put these guys in. Maybe the Ropers at some point, but or Don Knotts, the guy that replaced him.
Mr. Furley.
Mr. Furley.
Mr. Furley. Oh yeah, and then what was his buddy Larry that he always hung out
with?
Larry,
yes,
Beagle.
Larry. The pre-Kramer of the series, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of the wacky neighbor dude. It's like, did we ever go outside growing up, or did we?
Oh, I don't know. What if they ever start doing figures based on Amen? What was that show?
That was Sherman Hemsley.
Sherman Hemsley. I am out.
Oh, come on, you got to get that 227 with the old lady in the window that would always be sassing people.
With the apartment playset.
Right. That brownstone walk up from the outside.
But they're making Three's Company. Another thing I saw. Sorry about all the toy news. That was very prevalent this week. But I guess Lego also acquired the license for Pokemon, which kind of blows me away because I think Mega Bloks had it before.
They had it for
now,
a while, yeah.
I'm at the point now where I do not like Lego anymore. I liked Lego when it was still niche at like around 2012 before they, I liked when they acquired an IP here and IP there, but now it's just all IPs. It's like one of those things where everybody's jumped on board now, and it's like, I'm done.
And again, because they got these IPs, they got to jack the price up, and they're so expensive nowadays.
Right. So, all right, well, that'll do it. We have to head into our first break here, but when we return, we're going to be hearing from Robert Orci as we pull out some audio from the vault.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Geek Time continues transmitting next with
Kurtzman and Orci.
All right, guys, the release of the Minecraft movie is upon us, and if you're looking for real-world accuracy on anything from the Minecraft world, including torches, swords, potions, and more, well, head on over to the Noble Collection. They've got highly crafted replicas based on all the assets from the video game, and they look amazing, I gotta say.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the stuff now. I said that just noticed they had DC, so I'm going to be looking into that. Jurassic Park, like Wicked is huge now. They got some stuff for them.
Yeah, not just Minecraft, but they try to do an amazing attention to detail with all the different IPs that they have.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Like they have Aquaman's Trident. It's $59. It's in stock. I'm like, why would you want to turn down that? It's a beautiful replica for $59.
Oh yeah, they've got tons of IPs. They've got, I believe, Harry Potter, DC, just too many to list. So if you're looking for authentic replicas, then make sure you check out thenoblecollection.com today. All right, if you're looking for the latest and greatest in tabletop miniatures, WizKids has you covered, especially when it comes to D&D. I've been loving what they have been doing with the whole scene over there lately. Last year, they did the D&D 50th anniversary sets, which, man, I tell you what, they sent me a brick, and I was looking up the prices of some of these characters. I had like 5 or 6 characters worth like $100 each. I was geeking out over that. I'm like, holy cow. Yeah, now they have a new set. They're going back to Baldur's Gate, and wow. Miniatures, they've got a board game coming out called Builders of Baldur's Gate, and when I was a kid, boy, that was like the big deal. That was the big thing on the NES console there. Yeah, they had Dungeons and Dragons Baldur's Gate. It was just the big campaign that they were running at the time. As far as the miniatures go, WizKids is just knocking it out of the park when it's coming to D&D. The figures are amazing looking and don't want to miss it. So check it out, WizKids.com, or check it out at your local hobby shop.
Hey everybody, this is Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn, co-creator of Venom, and you're listening to Geek Time.
All right, that's Todd McFarlane bringing us back from break. And like I said, this episode is brought to you by the Noble Collection. Special thanks to our sponsor. And I got to say, we ended up airing the Todd McFarlane interview last week. And I just listening to it over again, I got so much more out of it the second time, just sitting back and listening, because there's just so many words of wisdom there.
The way that he presents himself and just talks about stuff, it's captivating. It's almost like he could be a public speaker as well as somebody that makes these great figures.
Yeah, and Geek Time interviewed him a few times in the past as well, back in like 2011, 2012, back when Walking Dead was exploding. And for those of you who know, Robert Kirkman actually worked under the Image label with Todd. So when his star was kind of blowing up, Todd came on the show and was talking about, some of the interactions that he's had with Robert. And he was just, a lot of good words and wisdom of people that are up and coming. He's like, make sure you know how to use the word no. Like, there's only so many hours in the day. Make sure you say no. And then he brought up that reference with the juggling the balls, like that he brought up with our interview.
People are always talking about work-life balance, and he's a big proponent of that. He's not just about go out there and hustle and work, 90 hours a week or something.
Yeah, that was great. So, special thanks again to Todd. We'll definitely have to do another interview with him in the future, because there's just so many things that we didn't even cover that I would just love to get into, like the Walking Dead toys, his comics, how he got started over at Marvel, and how he came up with Venom. All that stuff was on my list, but you can only get to so much.
Like, one thing for me is, like, how did he, for the Batman, like, did he approach DC and say, hey, I'd like to do some Batman? Did they talk to him? Like, how did that even start, where he was able to draw those Batmans and everything? Yeah,
absolutely. So, we'll definitely talk to him again. But, so now I want to talk about Robert Orci, because, like I said, in the 2010s, the writing team of Kurtzman and Orci was all you heard about. They had a hand in Star Trek, Star Wars, Fringe. God, I loved Fringe. Lost, were they on Lost, I believe, too?
I think Lost was one of them, yeah.
Because he was linked in with J.J. Abrams. Like, they were everywhere, man.
Everything.
Yeah, powerhouse. And when I heard he passed away, like I said, like, it did not get a lot of buzz. I usually, in my feed, I'll see somebody dies. They'll be like, oh, R.I.P., blah, blah, blah. But he didn't get anything, man. I was like, wow, what's going on here?
And again, like you said, it's something that you think we would have gotten a notification for, because everything he did is right in our wheelhouse. It's what the show is about.
No, what's interesting too is Scotty and myself actually saw him at E3. Do you remember this, Scotty?
Oh yeah, yep, definitely.
I think it was 2011, 2012, around that time frame. It was when they were making the Star Trek video game. And I don't remember exactly what booth we were at. I think it was on the ground floor, because it was a Paramount game. We were getting ready to do the demonstration video that they had, and we ended up getting bumped. We were sitting there, we were waiting, and all of a sudden the door opens up, and out comes Kurtzman and Orci. They wanted to sit down, get a feel for how the game was doing, and I was like, wow, this is a great story. We got bumped for Kurtzman and Orci.
Once you find out who we're bumped for, you're like, you know what? We got time to wait. We'll just be a little late for the next appointment. We're fine with it, because that was something.
Yeah, there's only a couple of guys we put up with that from.
Yeah, exactly, right.
They're one of them. Like, yeah, it's kind of a shame, because he seemed like a nice guy and just very cool. So I went back into the archive, and he was on Geek Time during one of the Comic-Con episodes that they did in San Diego. They were promoting Cowboys versus Aliens, which didn't do too well at the box office, of course.
Still haven't seen it personally, but it's an interesting concept.
I wanted to include this interview in this episode because they really get into a lot of the minutia from the new Star Trek movie, with how they brought in Leonard Nimoy and the whole scene that happened on the set. Just some really good info and stories there. So, I know this is right up your alley, Scotty.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't remember this interview, so I'm going to have to listen to it again, because I want to see if they touch on, did they talk to Shatner? It's going to be a good one. I'm definitely going to listen to this one.
For your presentation, we're pulling this out of the vault. The Robert Orci In Memoriam interview.
And now, the writing team that brought you Alias, Fringe, Hawaii Five-0, Transformers, Star Trek, and the upcoming blockbuster Cowboys and Aliens. Hollywood's secret weapon, Robert Orci and Alex Kurtzman.
You are the secret weapon.
I was going to say, you guys have done a ton of stuff with Michael Bay. The Island, the Transformers film.
By the way,
That's 5 years.
I love The Island. I think it's
Oh,
an underrated
thank you.
film. When I heard that he was doing that kind of movie, I'm like, awesome. I mean, that scene with the letter. I mean, it's just crazy, but it's really just good. It's good sci-fi.
I think
really
some
good.
of his best work is actually in The Island.
Yes,
as a director.
absolutely.
Yes.
By the way, Star Trek.
thanks.
When you guys made the original characters have so much more gravitas now.
Thank you.
I mean, you made them so much cooler. And the guy you had for Bones, like now DeForest Kelly's. I get what he was doing. You know, you made him amazing. I mean, I love that. And then and to do that, the parallel. You guys like parallel universes, but to do that, like you've changed the. It made sense. It's like wow, it's so simple, but it was brilliant. And
Oh,
it's
thanks,
like,
man. Thank you.
You're also walking into the Lion's Den
For sure.
with
Oh,
Star
God.
Trek. If
For
you
sure.
don't do it right, you know you're going to hear about
We
it.
were terrified to do it. We said no for a year just because we were such fans as kids. We're like, we can't. Oh
Mess
my
it
God!
up.
If we mess that up, we're gonna.
And then we thought, well, we can't let someone else mess it up.
and then to get Leonard Nimoy in there, not just as a cameo.
Oh, yeah, that was-
to have such a big role. I love Nimoy.
was
I
quite
remember
a
when we
day.
pitched it to him. He came in. We hadn't even written it yet, and we're like, okay. Leonard Nimoy sits down. We're like, okay. So anyway, this is happening, and this is
First
happening.
of all, he comes in and you're trying to butter him up with, it, and he's like, "So what do you? What is it?
What do you got?"
It was right to it. There was no
All business?
no pleasantries.
All business.
There was no Vulcan design or
nothing.
anything.
So then we're like, anyway. So then we blow up Vulcan, and he's looking at us like, and he just raised his eyebrow. He's like,
He raises the eyebrow.
Yeah,
That
he
must
does the
be-
eyebrow.
You must be geeking out over that.
Totally.
It's like, wow, he just raised the
And then we
eyebrow.
got to the end of the pitch, and
Silence.
And he was silent. We're like, did we just insult him? Is this over? And then he got a little verklempt.
Yeah, he got emotional, and he said, "You know, you have to understand this is very emotional for me." And we realized, we've talked about this before, that this is it was the moment where you're asking the gunslinger to strap his belt on one last time, and he, I think, felt for the first time in a very long time that he had a reason to do that. And you know,
And we
it
said
was
we can't
amazing.
do it without you. We don't have a backup story.
We
this
really
story is you're the one responsible for making this happen.
Yeah, it wasn't just like let's throw Leonard
No,
Nimoy.
that's right.
Not at all.
For a fan's sake.
No, it
or
was the
anything.
story is totally.
Yeah.
We cannot tell it without you. And he didn't commit to it.
He said, "Send me the script and we'll see."
Yeah. So we had to
wrote
write it on faith.
not even knowing, just
Well-
on faith.
Well, what else you guys nailed in that too was a relationship between Kirk and Spock. Yes. You know, the younger versions of them. I mean, that one moment when Kirk smacks him on the back, I was like, okay, these guys are buddies. You know, asshole buddy. He doesn't like him, but now they got to be buddies. Again, he just made the original character so great from that too.
Well, we actually had a weird. Sometimes what we'll do is lock ourselves in a room for weeks when we're really just in crunch time, and we were sitting in a room and we were writing the scene post Vulcan where they're debating whether or not to go after Nero, and we were having this huge debate about how to write the scene, and we're a huge argument. No, it's this. No, it's that. And we realized this is the scene. What we're saying to each other right now, this is the scene. And so we went down the road, and it very quickly wrote itself.
Logical.
Gotta ask you about number 2. We hear JJ is now in gear after taking
yeah,
a
what
little
you
while.
guys? Can we get this now? I mean, you're killing me.
What's going on with
You're
the next
killing
one?
me.
You know, he did this little side home movie. I don't know if you heard of it, Super 8.
Yeah,
it's a
So
little bit.
now he's done, and now the band's back together, and we're into it, and we feel pretty good about it.
Now Damon's on this. Is he writing it at the same?
He's writing it with us. Yeah,
He's
we're all
writing it
writing
with you.
together.
So you guys lock yourselves all in the room. Again,
right.
is it
Yeah.
the big idea like we got to do this, or is it just completely collaborative?
Well, I have to say one thing that was really good is even though there was this pressure of a deadline, I think we all felt so strongly that we had to protect Trek. We
Right.
had to make sure that we weren't
Better
putting it
wait,
out there.
better wait,
better to
and-
wait.
yeah,
Exactly,
I'm with you.
and so we actually had the luxury while JJ was making the movie and while we were doing other things too of taking real time to break the story. And for us, story is so. It's like 90% of it, you know,
75-80% of it.
yeah. So it was great, and I think we felt the confidence now to move forward.
But some of
with
the
story.
ideas in that in the second one came when we were talking about the first movie.
Right.
What if in the second one, you know, we were already, and we never do this. We think it's bad luck to think of the next movie like every movie
counting
needs
your
to stand-
chips.
Yeah, every movie needs to stand on its own. But part of the reason we went the Nimoy way and made it a kind of an alternate universe is because we knew it would free us and free the franchise from what came before, and so we couldn't help ourselves thinking about sequels.
Mike, you got a question?
Is there any truth to the Star Trek animated rumors? Like, would we done like a Clone Wars, or would be the current cast?
We've asked about it. We've asked what the rights are and who owns it and what are the possibilities. So it's a very early kind of, hey, is this a possibility? And we're waiting to hear back. But I would love to do that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
We just had the experience of doing this new show, Transformers Prime. And it's basically
it's on the hub.
It's on the hub, and we learned a lot from that experience, and it'd be cool to do something like that for Chuck.
That was cool in Fringe when like you did that animated episode. Yeah. All of a sudden it goes animated, and you're like, well, wait a second, is this going to work? And it worked. It really, I got sucked into that. And
those were my favorite scenes in Xanadu.
Don't you remember the fish? Don't walk away.
Yeah.
Don't walk away.
And of course, Nimoy made his way onto Fringe as well.
Yeah.
William. When I heard he was coming on, and now retiring and not retiring. I don't want to know if he's in Star Trek, but it'd be so great if he shows up in Star Trek.
We felt like schmucks going, hey, listen, I know you just did us a solid by coming out of retirement and saving Star
Trek. Can we do it again?
Would you mind coming on Fringe? And he's like, sure.
Now, when you guys started in TV, Hercules and Xena, were you thinking, okay, one day we'll be writing these films, and was that the goal, or was it?
It was always the dream, but I think we just, I think we felt so lucky we had a job, and it's funny because the very thing that you guys celebrate on your show was at the time really marginalized. When we would tell people we were on Herc and Xena, it was always like, what's that? Syndicated television, genre TV? What's that? People look down their nose at those shows all the time. But we loved them. We learned everything from those shows.
And it's easy to come out of film school and go, oh, I want to do film. And then we read somewhere like, oh, TV's got 10 writers on every show, and it's a great way to break in. And we got in that way and learned everything. It was graduate school for us.
Well, also nowadays, TV is so much more respected, and it's also really where the best work is being done.
Yeah.
I mean, especially on cable,
for sure.
AMC,
Unbelievable,
HBO. And I was saying to John one day, we were talking about what was on Sunday night. There's all these great shows on, and nothing on regular TV. And I was like, did they just throw their arms up and cable's doing it?
I mean, it's true. I mean, Fringe is on Fox, but like network show, we were knocking NBC before.
Fox is one of the places that will take those leaps and do something cool, sci-fi.
And ABC took the leap with Lost, but then. They all try to take that and put it in a different bottle, and it never works.
Sure.
People are really resonating. Let's have this show about an island, or let's do this or that. Right. And networks are more about, I guess, the dollars and cents, whereas cable, they take a little more chances. And AMC, people are like, well, that's American movie classics. Why the hell would I watch a show on there? But now you've got Breaking Bad, you've got Mad Men, you've got Walking Dead, you've got some of the best TV.
And the common denominator on all those shows is you had a visionary at the helm of all of them. And that's the thing about television that's been so great. And I think, between David or Matthew Weiner or all those guys, they are the captain of their show, and they know what they're doing, and there's a vision there.
Nonetheless, maybe someone here can explain to me why my wife and I can only watch cooking shows every day.
That's the one show I cannot watch. I don't get it because I want to eat it now or something. I don't get the cooking shows.
And people knock reality, and I'm not a fan of reality television, but reality television is cheap and easy, and you can put on 100 of those types of shows, and if one of them hits, then the investment pays off. It takes a lot more to get great scripted material like you guys do.
Well, the other thing that's been talked about a lot, like a show hits like Lost, and the network says we want this show that people have to watch every week, but then they don't. Then they want a procedural that stands alone,
that's
and and so it's like,
We're
how do you get
that out?
You just have to lie to them and say, yes, it's all standalone episodes. It's fine.
Well, you mentioned this earlier on Fringe. We were trying to figure out what's the balance between a standalone show and the mythology, and so that's a formula we're always trying to figure out because there is no formula in a way. And so a lot of people will go, oh, you guys should do something like Lost. And we're like, oh yeah, sure. Let us just go to our giant hit show idea tree and we'll pull it right off of there. Like you don't never know how that's going to come.
Those things are unreplicatable. You can't make another Lost. It's not going to ever happen.
Right.
So anytime that any network who sets out on that's a fool's errand.
Yeah, because amazing cast in Lost. I mean, there was not a clunker in the bunch with that. I mean, the tailies, there were some
For the record, we had nothing to do with Lost. I'm telling you, because we work with JJ and Damon so much, we all get congratulated for each other's work.
Well, yeah, but you talked about it before.
Do you just accept the credit at this point?
Half the time I'm like, thank you, yes, thank you for Super 8. I loved it. Yes. Worked so hard on it.
But it is a big family, and you say, like, JJ's the visionary, but, like, you could have visions and have nobody help you bring it to fruition. It's useless. I mean, so that's why he keeps everybody around, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's a great band. When you're in a good orchestra, and that's the thing people forget. In movies or TV, it takes hundreds of people to actually do it. It really is a collaborative orchestra effort.
Much like Geek Time.
That's Geek
true.
Time.
Yes.
And so I think he recognizes that, and so do we. And that's part of why we've been partners now for 19 years, because it takes a village.
But getting back to Xena and Hercules, I always make the argument, Xena, you got to watch the show. It's funny. It's a lot of action. Xena, why the hell am I going to watch Xena? And it reminded me of the Battlestar Galactica argument. Why am I going to watch Battlestar Galactica? What the hell? That's Lauren Green and all that crap. Meanwhile, it's some of the best dramatic writing I think ever on television.
Sure.
And we got to end the show now. Thank you, Bob Orci. Thank you, Outsourced. Thank you, everybody. And thanks for listening to Geek Time.
Geek Time.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Geek Time continues transmitting next with
Hollywood makeup artist Daniel Phillips.
I gotta say, I love New Wave Toys because they have a whole line of mini arcade games that they've been doing. And now they sent me this. If you remember Zoltar, it was that thing in the movie Big that turned Tom Hanks into a little kid. It was that Mystic Swami. Well, they actually made a micro version to fit in the same scale of all their arcade machines that they do. And this thing, it works and talks just like the original. Like if you press a button here.
I am Zoltar, the great gypsy, and I can see your fortune.
It's awesome. It's got like different phrases. It moves. It lights up just like the original Zoltar. Like
for a small fee, Zoltar will give you a wealth of wisdom.
I'm not sure where you pick this thing up at. Probably at the newwavetoys.com. If you're into these amusement park type miniature scale model things that they're doing, this needs to be in your collection.
Come on over and let Zoltar be sharing with you your fortune.
All right, guys, if you're looking for one cool building toy, forget Lego. Let's talk about K'NEX magnetic tiles because they are the Cadillac in building tiles. I know a lot of other companies out there are doing it cheaper and whatever, but they sent me a case of these, and I've got to say, these magnetic tiles are amazing. They feel better. They connect a lot better as well. So if you have kids, make sure you get these tiles because building is like this fundamental thing that they love to do.
And this actually is something that, even with Lego, you can still build your own thing, but these look like something they're not going to give you instructions that you have to build this. Use your imagination and do whatever you want with them and make fun and make everything you've ever wanted, make your dreams come true with these.
Oh yeah, my kids love to make houses with them and buildings and cars and whatnot, so you can do all that stuff, rocket ships and more. So make sure you check out K'NEX, CONNECTIX magnetic tiles.
Hey, this is Alex Kurtzman.
This is Bob Orci. You're listening to Geek Time.
All right, welcome back to Geek Time, Season 1, Episode 11. And that was Robert Orci, part of the team, bringing us back from break there. And like I said, again, I can't believe he's gone.
Yeah, I found out when you told me, and it's still just reeling, man.
Yeah, so, all right, another guest I want to get to is a special effects makeup artist. And I love talking to these kind of people because they put all the scenes together and all the makeup and things like that. So this guy specifically, Daniel Phillips, worked on part of the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit film, and he's got a lot to say when it comes to that.
Yeah, they sometimes spend more time with those actors that are because they're going to be putting on makeup, special effects. They could be with them 4 or 5 hours putting that stuff on just one-on-one time.
All right, let's get to it. Daniel Phillips.
Geek Time now brings you a makeup artist with a hand in The Hobbit, the great and powerful Oz, as well as a host of other movies, Daniel Phillips.
I'm talking to Daniel Phillips. You are a special effects makeup artist.
Yes, I am.
And you worked on some pretty big Hollywood productions.
Yeah, I did. I've been very, very blessed to have worked on some big stuff like the Hobbit trilogy, Oz the Great and Powerful, Real Steel, Batman vs. Superman,
oh, wow.
The list goes on.
Yeah, so let's start there. Batman vs. Superman. What did you do for that one?
All I did on that was I did Aquaman's tattoos.
Oh, okay.
So you see him, and in that movie, he just goes, shoots through the ground, through the ocean in about 2 seconds.
Well, he did have some elaborate tattoos, so
yeah,
I mean,
it's work. Right?
Now, how long did those take then?
We got them done fairly quickly. There's a couple of us working on them, a couple hours.
So I see you have some prosthetics and things on display here, and I see the Hobbit. You did the I don't remember his name.
Nori.
Yeah. Explain the process of that, like doing the nose, probably the hair.
Yeah, Nori was it's a very seamless makeup, so it looks like there's not a lot there, but there was a ton.
Because I've seen a documentary on it, and he looks totally different from what you threw on him.
We start off with a foam rubber cap that goes on them. That's about this thick. so it makes their head look big and bulbous. You know,
Okay.
it's about 3 inches thick, and then over the top of that goes the silicone, and that gets all glued down. And Nori had silicone from his lips all the way to his ears, all the way up to his forehead.
Wow!
So he was just covered. The makeup took me when I first started, about 3 hours, and I got down to about 2.
Okay.
But that was after 6, almost 7 months.
Because you're doing it like every day, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that get monotonous after a while? You're like, oh.
No, you know, Jed Brophy was his name, the actor who played Nori, and he was great.
But it's just a love for it, I'm sure, where you're like, I'm into
and
this.
you know, when you got someone in your chair that respects the makeup and that will actually, you know that your makeup is in good hands with this guy because he's going to do the best he can to make the makeup come alive. And just the little things that he would do, you know, going on the weekends. It was their holiday time in New Zealand, so going on the weekends, he never got tanned. He did that purposely because my colors would change, you know. So if he got a dark tan, everything that I've used to color his face is obsolete at that point.
Right.
So he was very respectful in that sense, and so shout out to Jed Brophy.
Oh,
He's
nice.
in New Zealand somewhere. So.
Well, in the documentary, I saw that they were always sweating under the lights and the weather conditions and things like that. Was that a problem too? Like keeping the prosthetics on?
We were kind of blessed because a lot of the stuff that I did, they shot for like a year and a half. I was there for like the last 7 months of filming.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the stuff that we did was reshoots on green screens. So we had some pretty controlled climates in the studios. But we were out on location a few times, and it's like, you know, the couple of the dwarfs were, you know, heavy set guys, but they were not heavy in real life.
Yeah.
They had fat suits on.
Yeah.
You know, so they had those suits on them underneath their fat suit that was keeping them cool. They'd have like antifreeze going through the suit, and it would keep them cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, just the same thing that they do with a lot of these
getting elaborate
mascots.
these days.
Yeah, a lot of these mascots have the same thing. They have these antifreeze suits on. So
I'm always curious, like when you have somebody in the chair that long for 3 hours, like what's the process? Like what goes on during 3 hours?
Well, Jed would come in. Normally we would start Jed about 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And basically, when I first started working on Jed, it took a while for him to know my nuances as far as like, you know, how hard I touch him, just little things like that. But after about 2 weeks of me working on him, he would come in, I'd flop his chair back, and he'd go to sleep.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah, he'd fall asleep, and I mean, I could basically,
That's nice.
I could basically pick his nose, and he would
Wow.
not even wake up, you know. And then he'd wake up about 2.5 hours later as a Nori. Once again, I just did the prosthetics. There was another person that did the hair for him.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so after you get the prosthetics on, then you have to do the makeup and all that. Like, has there ever been days where you're like, oh, I can't get this to blend right, or
sometimes, you know, sometimes you have a little. I mean, none of us is perfect, you know. Sometimes we have a little bad edge or something, you know. But you know, as long as you do your due diligence before that day, you should be okay as far as knowing what you need to do to fix it.
Have you ever gotten somebody in your chair where they're just like grumpy, like, I don't want to do this?
Oh, absolutely.
How's that?
Yeah, and you know what? I call myself, you know, I tell people that I'm like their bartender. You know, they come in my chair and either they're hungover from the night before, or they don't know their lines, so they're trying to read their lines, and you know, it's always something. Sometimes they come in as happy as pie.
You got to be like the ultimate Zen master, like
yeah. And like I said, it all depends on their mood, and I go with, you know, I feed up what they're giving me.
Oh, I see. Now, what did you do for? I see the Oz Great and Powerfuls on your list as well.
Correct. I did one. There's a big makeup crew. There's about 14 of us, 15 maybe. I did a Tinker, the old men that work in Oz, you know, the long beards. I did one of those. I did a Winky, one of the Queen's Guards, the big Queen's Guards with the foam rubber faces, and I did a little person. And we all had the same that as well. So every person had 3 makeups to do a day.
Oh, gotcha. Now, do you have a favorite prop or aesthetic that you worked on for somebody that just sticks out in your mind, like, oh, I'm so proud of what I did here?
I like all the stuff I work on for one reason or another. I know it sounds cliche, but I really like the fact that I love the big movies like The Hobbits and all that.
Yeah.
But I like the little independent films too because I get a lot more control of the characters I make. Truth be told, when I worked on Hobbit, those characters were created well before I even touched the brush, and so were the colors and everything else.
That's
you
right.
can't deviate
That's right.
from them. You gotta.
You're just copying what was there.
Yeah, and you gotta keep that stuff precise because a lot of times the toys are already made. The action figures are already made.
Yeah.
And they don't want to deviate from that, especially shows like Disney and Oz the Great and Powerful was Disney, and so we would do one of our people, a Tinker, a Winky, or a little person, and we bring them right into a room that they would get rotocasted. So it all depends. It all depends.
And I'm sure as an artist, you love to be challenged. You're like, ooh, how do I wrap my head around this? This project.
I kind of miss those days. I mean, I don't have them as much as I used to, but when I was doing the non-union, the small films, I loved the fact that I'd be at Home Depot at like 11 o'clock at night trying to figure out,
like what can
do I need
get?
duct tape? What do I need? Yeah.
But yeah, you make it work. You try to cobble things together. Like, I wouldn't normally use this, but it works.
Yeah, and sometimes that's
it's a genius of
a
it.
real quick story. I had a young man that I was doing a cut on his arm, and I did this cut. Well, we went to location, and I didn't bring anything with me.
Okay.
Well, come to find out, this cut needed to look scabbed as though it was older. It was playing pretty prominent in the scene. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What am I going to do here? So I took some latex that I had, a little jug of latex, and I went to Craft Services and I grabbed a breaded pork chop, and I scraped the breading into the latex, mixed it up, and made a scab with it. So it came out great. So, sometimes you just fly by the seat of your pants, man.
Oh, well, it was great talking to you. I love talking about the stuff and all the work that goes in behind this stuff because it's just, you can't slap it together. It takes time to
absolutely
come together.
And, it's been great. Nice to meet
Pleasure.
you.
Thank you. You too.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Geek Time continues transmitting next with
G.I. Joe's Neil Ross.
If you're looking for the latest and greatest in tabletop miniatures, well, you better check out WizKids. They just sent me their newest offerings from their Star Trek line. This set is amazing. It's called Star Trek Into the Unknown, and they've got ships from both the Federation and Dominion War, which spans Deep Space Nine, Star Trek The Next Generation, and those were some of my favorite series growing up. Wow, I'm looking at the Enterprise right now, Enterprise D. They've painted all the little windows, the decals, it's just amazing. They also have a big set which contains Jem'Hadar's battle cruisers and fighters and Constellation class warships on the Federation side. Just an amazing set. You can pick this up now wherever you can find tabletop items for sale. Those hobby shops and things like that. You won't find them at Targets. WizKids also available on their website.
Ahoy, mateys. This is your old pal Shipwreck, and you're listening to Geek Time.
All right, welcome back to Geek Time, guys. Season 1, Episode 11. And that is, Shipwreck from G.I. Joe bringing us back, Neil Ross, and we'll be talking to him in a few minutes. And it's interesting because G.I. Joe happened, I was on the cusp of being part of the whole G.I. Joe generation. I was right on that cusp because you're either part of the G.I. Joe generation or the Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers generation. I just hit that little sliver. So I was part of both of those generations.
Great time
there.
to be, it was a good time to because you were in that age group, you could still enjoy both of them and not be like, oh, you nerd, you're too old for that kind of stuff. It was a great time.
Yeah, so I hit Transformers and GoBots and all that stuff.
GoBots. Man, got to bring that up again because I'm still reeling from the show.
And Heathcliff, remember Heathcliff?
Dennis the Menace cartoon.
Well, I just remember all those DIC properties.
Oh yeah,
so I think that was it was Sunbow and DIC were the big ones.
Yeah, because they even I believe DIC even did Inspector Gadget, if I'm correct.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so Neil Ross, he is the voice of Shipwreck, and he was always one of my favorite characters from the show. And when I talked about Neil, we get into like where the voice came from and the development of all that. So it's a really great interview.
Yeah, I was always a bigger fan of his parrot Polly, so I want to know who voiced that one.
So here we go. Let's go with Neil Ross. Take it away.
Geek Time proudly presents a voice actor that put the ship into G.I. Joe's shipwreck. He also voiced 2 Voltron members, Pidge and Keith. He even voiced a Transformer. He is the amazing Neil Ross.
Now I am with the great Neil Ross, and I have to say, Shipwreck has the most iconic voice, one of my favorite characters in G.I. Joe, and I'd love to know how you got the part, the process of all that.
Yeah, that's actually kind of an interesting story. I mean, most voiceover auditions, it's pretty cut and dried. You walk in, they have a picture and a paragraph description of the character, and you hopefully hear a voice in your head and then try to reproduce it in the microphone. In the case of Shipwreck, I tried a couple of different approaches. I could tell they were not very thrilled. And a guy sitting over in the corner looked at me and he said, "Have you ever seen a movie called The Last Detail?" And thank goodness I had. The Last Detail was a movie that starred Jack Nicholson relatively early in his career. It was directed by Hal Ashby. Detail in the title refers to an assignment. That's what they call an assignment in the military. They call it a detail. We're detailing you to do blah, blah, blah. So in this case, it's Nicholson and another sailor are given the task of escorting a young sailor who's going to spend 8 years in the brig. And they think he got a raw deal, and they want to show him a good time before he goes behind bars, and so they have all kinds of wild misadventures. And Jack actually got nominated for Best Actor, didn't win that year, but then in the following years, he came out with Chinatown and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and everybody kind of forgot about The Last Detail. But it's a lovely little movie. And as I said, I had seen it, and the minute he said that, I said, I see what they want. They want the character whose name was Badass Badusky. So I did my version of Badass Badusky, and that's what got me the part.
Oh, that's perfect. Can you give us a couple lines from Shipwreck?
Well, somebody just reminded me of it earlier, came up to the table and said the first episode that Shipwreck is in, he meets Flint and one of the other guys in a sleazy bar, and he says, "You guys want to get out of here alive, or do you want to hang around and pray for urban renewal?" So that was one of his lines, and it was a wonderful character to play because if you think about it, in G.I. Joe, the good guys were really good and the bad guys were really bad. But Shipwreck sort of somewhere in the middle. He wanted to do the right thing, but he didn't like following orders. So he got into all kinds of trouble. And it reminded me of guys I knew. I actually was in the Navy for a while, and there were guys I knew who kind of learned how to work the system. They never actually ended up getting court-martialed, but they skated right along the edge for most of their career. And they were interesting people, and I kind of modeled Shipwreck's character on some of those guys.
Yeah, it seems like the best characters come from personal experience.
Yeah, that, and of course characters that have a lot of shadings and conflicts and differences that are more than one-dimensional.
Yes.
Those are the ones that are fun to play.
Yeah, and I will say, like, Shipwreck is one of the most, for me, one of the characters that stands out the most. Even though I think he came in just a little bit later than the rest of the group, but he always stuck out to me.
Yeah, the character came in later in the series, but yeah, very rewarding part. One of the most rewarding parts I've ever had.
And he has quite a lasting impression with toys, just his overall look. Now, you saw his look before you came up with the voice, correct?
Yeah, most auditions, as I said, you go in and on the bulletin board, they've got a drawing of the character and maybe a 1 or 2 paragraph description of the character. So going in, all I saw was that drawing. And that didn't give me that much. As I say, if that guy in the corner hadn't mentioned The Last Detail, none of this would have happened.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. That's what really gave me the clue.
Now, another cartoon I used to love growing up was Voltron. And you voiced a couple characters on there. Pidge, I see as well.
Yeah, I have trouble getting up there these days, but I can still do it.
Wow.
And then, of course, Keith, who was sort of my Tommy teenage voice, which I stole from Richard Crenna in a show called Our Miss Brooks, where he played a student named Walter Denton.
And he had a sort of a scratch in his voice that I don't have, but it was youthful down in here somewhere, and yeah, that's what I used.
Oh, that's great. If you can see me, I've got like a big grin on my face because I'm as you're doing that, I can close my eyes and just see the person talking.
Yeah, well, the Michael Bell, who's another voice actor, a wonderful voice actor, he came up with the best analogy about what we do. A lot of people say, how many voices do you do? And I say, I have no idea, and I hope I never find out.
Yeah.
I think they think I have 15 voices, and I go in and I say, which would you like?
Yes.
Number 11 or number 14? And it's not like that. He said, what we're doing is playing vocal Mr. Potato Head. Remember Mr. Potato Head with the eyes and the noses and the glasses? Well, you do that with your voice. He's old.
Well, is he old up and high, or is he old down in here? Does he have an underbite? Does he?
You know, you just start playing, and hopefully you stumble into something good.
Now, you did a bunch of Transformers as well. I see, was it Slag? I get all those Dinobots mixed up.
Yeah, I do too. I was Hook, Slag, Bone Crusher, and Springer.
Oh, okay. A couple of the Destructicons as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you do a couple of those voices, or are those beyond your memory?
Well, let's see.
Slag was somewhere in here.
And Bone Crusher was somewhere down there.
Now, I remember that one. Yeah, I do remember that one. That's great. Now, you said you started at your panel, you said you started off as a radio guy.
Yeah, I got sidetracked into wanting to be a disc jockey. Like, you know, a million other people, I just heard Bruce Springsteen talking about this on Howard Stern. It all started with seeing Elvis Presley on Ed Sullivan. And, you know, that changed a whole generation of kids who grew up. And, you know, if I'd had a shred of musical talent, I'd have learned how to play the guitar and had a whole different life. But the closest I could get to it was being a radio disc jockey. So, yeah, I did that for about 20 years.
Wow.
And then somewhere along the way, I heard rumors of this wondrous business called voiceovers. And I thought, my God, if I sat down and tried to create a job for myself, I couldn't come up with anything much better. I think it's ideally suited for my odd little mix of talents, if you will. And so I set about trying to get in that business, and somewhere in the early 80s, I managed to pull it off.
You were doing your voice that you do for infomercials back in the 80s, and the voice for that just brought back so many memories as well.
Well, voiceovers, you have to do a lot of different things. There's no big payday. You just get a lot of little paydays, hopefully. And so, yeah, I've done a bunch of infomercials. And
can you do a little of that, like Act Now or whatever you did?
I did a lot of stuff for Total Gym for a while. Your Total Gym comes with a complete money-back guarantee, so call now. That's Hot Dog, I 812. Hot Dog, I 812. Yes. Call now. You know.
Oh, that voice just, it is perfect encapsulation of the 80s.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I guess.
So thank you, Neil. I appreciate all your time.
My pleasure. Well, thank you. I mean, I always say when I wrap these things up, thanks to the fans and their loyal support, I got to spend my entire adult life doing something I loved for a living, which is a rare privilege in this world. So many people have to go do some job they don't like and pray for the weekend to come. I would look forward to Monday mornings. Oh boy, what am I going to do next?
Yeah,
you know,
do what you love.
So that was a wonderful privilege, and I'm very grateful.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, thanks, Neil. That was a great interview, I have to say. And Scott, you know, that is my third G.I. Joe
G.I.
voice
Joe,
actor
yeah.
I talk to. I feel like I'm just collecting them.
Yeah, right. It's like you're a kid and just collecting, the
collecting
figures
action
themselves,
figures.
right?
But yeah, I talked to Bill Ratner, who was the voice of Flint, and Morgan Lofting, who did the Baroness, who passed away. So yeah, I got the last interview there. And now we have Neil Ross.
Yeah, pretty. It's like I said, you're always sticking to G.I. Joe. You got to get some of that Cobra side in there. Get your Pentor and get the Hood.
Oh, you know what? I actually got 4. No, Brian Cummings did the voice for the Doctor Mindbender.
Dr. Mindbender, who was a Cobra guy.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
So
I remember that guy well.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I know this goes back to my geeking out last week where I was talking about I'm just kind of going through my mind who would I love to interview that's passed away. I found out that the guy that does or did the voice for Cobra Commander passed away.
Oh, geez, that's another.
Yeah,
we're falling into that Gilbert territory, kind of like for that Gilbert Colossal podcast, like you talked about last week too.
Yeah, and I would just love to hear him just on command go, "Oh, geek time!" Cobra Commander. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's a tough voice. I mean, that one you got to have almost like a sore throat every day to pull that one off.
But yeah, as far as Neil Ross goes, I just remember like he was my favorite character because he had that Jack Nicholson voice. Like, hey, what's going on here, guys?
He was rolled up and he was ready for battle all the time. He just looked amazing.
But I just remember all the other characters, like what the Junkyard Dog or Junkyard, or
the one that actually had the dog with him. Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
The name was a character, but yeah, I remember the figure because it was one of the where he runs. I was like, he comes with the dog too.
And it's so funny, but when I talk to people your age, Scott, that's just a little bit older than I am, like the Serpentor, like that story arc always stands out for being like, I think it was a mini series.
One of my favorite. Yeah, that was when you're that young and you don't really know what story arcs are, and all of a sudden you got this almost movie length. That's like 6-7 episodes. Of that figure too. I love that figure. He came with that little gliding sled that he had that you could fly through the air and stuff, and amazing. And that's through that I actually learned about like Attila the Hun and other stuff, and dug into them since he was all combined with their DNA.
Oh, nice. And I remember the Zammot and Tomax. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Tomax and Zammot. It's. I think it was one of those things where you could say it 6 different ways and everybody knew who you were talking about. All you had to say was the twins.
Yeah, I thought they were so cool. They had the blue jackets on, and
I'm making a case for why I like Cobra better than G.I. Joe.
Well, I remember the figure too is like a snake-looking dude.
The Serpentor one.
No, I don't remember from the show, but I just remember the toy. He had a big old long snake tail.
You're right, from the waist down. Yeah, it was a snake. Yeah, and I can't remember that one. There were so many characters throughout the show for both sides. I can't keep track of all of them.
Okay, well, I guess the time has got us. We're going to wrap up another show. So a special thanks to Daniel Phillips as well as Neil Ross and Robert Orci. Rest in peace, man. You did a heck of a job with the sci-fi genre.
He did, yeah. I think he brought a lot of people into it, too, that weren't interested because of the newer movies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, special shout out to him. And, so next week, make sure you come back because we've got another jam-packed show. Boy, we got tons of guests. I love it.
There's always so much stuff coming up every week.
Live long and prosper.